بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه ثم أما بعد. I have 25 minutes to talk to you about the mercy of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I'll probably share with you the structure of my talk so that if you get lost in the middle of the talk, you know what the talk is about. I will first address the scope of the mercy of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and then I will address the question of whether this mercy applies also to non-Muslims or it is only limited to his ummah. And then I will talk about some of the acts of the Prophet ﷺ, some of the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ that may sound or seem or may be perceived by others as counter to the mercy that we're talking about, or contradictory with how we describe the Prophet ﷺ or portray the Prophet ﷺ, and we will see how they are not. They are part of that mercy. Everything that he said and everything that he did is part of this mercy, which was the ultimate objective of his ministry or his mission. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. Just remember this verse, memorize this verse, and repeat it because you're being bombarded by false information, misconceptions that aim to lead you away from this conviction. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We have not sent you except as a mercy to the worlds, not just to mankind, but to the worlds in plural. And what that means is that the Prophet ﷺ was a mercy sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not limited for mankind, but for the animals, the plants, the universe. And we will see what that means. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. We have not sent you except as a mercy to the worlds is a verse in Surah Al-Anbiya, that is chapter number 21, verse number 107. Repeat this verse, memorize it, and get yourself convinced with it. Read the biography of the Prophet ﷺ, read about the Prophet ﷺ until you do not have a shred of doubt about the meanings and the implications of this verse. وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ. So the scope of the mercy of the Prophet ﷺ, if you begin from his teachings about the family, for instance, if you talk about what the Prophet ﷺ taught us about the mother, or how you should treat your mother. Ibn Majah reports from Muawiyah as-Sulamiyya radiallahu anhu that he came to the Prophet and said to him, I would like to enlist with you in jihad, to go out with you for jihad, and I want to do this sincerely for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and for the hereafter. So this is someone who is determined to go out on an expedition with the Prophet ﷺ for the sake of Allah and for the hereafter, not seeking anything. Could you imagine anything would be greater than this, would be better than this, to lose your soul in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And we will talk about how this very jihad is part of the mercy, universal mercy, that is the mission of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But this would be something that is matchless. And then the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to him, وَيْحَكَ أَلَكَ أُمٌّ حَيَّةٌ. Do you have a mother who's living? Woe unto you. Do you have a mother who is alive? And Muawiyah radiallahu anhu said yes. And the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, فَالْزَمْهَا فَإِنَّ الْجَنَّةَ عِنْدَ قَدَمَيْهَا في رواية النسائي. فَالْزَمْهَا, then stick to her, stay with her, for the Jannah is beneath her feet. Or in riwayat Ibn Majah, فَالْزَمْ رِجْلَيْهَا فَثَمَّ الْجَنَّةِ. Stay by her feet, for there is the Jannah. For the Jannah is there by her feet. So he told them, give her companionship with mercy, kindness, and humility by her feet. Stay by her feet, for the Jannah is there. For the grandmother, the Prophet ﷺ made her just like the mother and gave her inheritance if the mother was not alive. For the aunt, the Prophet ﷺ gave her the same status of the mother. Al-Bukhari and Muslim reported from Ali radiallahu anhu that the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-khalatu bimanzilati al-walida. The aunt, particularly the maternal aunt in this hadith, bimanzilati al-walida, has the same position of the mother, has the same status as the mother. For the wife, the Prophet ﷺ told us in a hadith reported by Tirmidhi from Aisha radiallahu anha, أكمل المؤمنين إيمانا أحسنهم أخلاقا وخياركم خياركم لنسائهم. Or he said, ألطفهم بأهله. أكمل المؤمنين, the most perfect person in faith is the most perfect person in conduct. And then he said that the best of you are those who are kindest or most gentle towards their wives. Those who are most gentle, most kind towards their wives. For the daughter, the Prophet ﷺ taught us, as reported by Al-Bukhari or reported by Muslim, the Prophet ﷺ said, Man ala jariyatayni, it was reported by Muslim, rahimahullah, he said, Man ala jariyatayni, جاء يوم القيامة أنا وهو وضم إصبعيه. Whoever takes care of two girls, he will come on the day of judgment. He and I will be like this. He and I will be like this. And he pointed, or he brought together. In this hadith, he brought together his two fingers, the middle finger and the index. So he brought them together and he said that whoever takes care of two girls, you know the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said that whoever takes care of three girls, there will be a barrier or a protection or a shield for him from the hellfire, or they will shield him from the hellfire. And they said to him, what about two? And he said, and two. And then they said to him, what about one? And he said, and one, even one will protect him, will shield him from the hellfire. For the family in general, the Prophet ﷺ taught us to be merciful to our families, to the point where he said, as Al-Bukhari and Muslim reported from Jubayr ibn Mut'im radiallahu anhu, لا يدخل الجنة قاطع, لا يدخل الجنة قاطع. The one who cuts off the ties of kinship will not enter paradise. The one who cuts off, the qati' is the cutter, meaning the cutter of the ties of kinship. The one who cuts off the ties of kinship will not enter paradise. And it was not only limited to the family, but it was also about the people in general. That the Prophet ﷺ told us to treat people with mercy, all people in general. For the neighbor, for instance, and you know the hadith of the neighbor do not particularly say the Muslim neighbor. They just talk about the neighbor. In general, they talk about the neighbor. Muslim reported from Abi Hurairah radiallahu anhu that the Prophet ﷺ said, لا يدخل الجنة من لا يأمن جاره بوائقه. He will not enter paradise, he whose neighbor does not feel safe or is not safe from his injustice or iniquity or wrongdoing. If your neighbor does not feel safe from your iniquity or wrongdoing, you will not enter paradise. And the Prophet ﷺ did not particularly say your Muslim neighbor in this hadith. Moreover, it is not just only about keeping to yourself. You need to extend kindness to your neighbor. It's not only about keeping your harm away from your neighbor, but Al-Hakim reported with a sound chain of narration from Abdullah ibn Abbas that the Prophet ﷺ said, لَيْسَ الْمُؤْمِنُ الَّذِي يَشْبَعُ وَجَارُهُ إِلَى جَنْبِهِ جَائِعٌ. It is not a believer, he who feeds to the full, or who's satisfied, or he who's well fed, or he who eats to his fill, and his jar, his neighbor, is next to him hungry, or his neighbor spends the night next to him hungry. So he who eats to his fill and his neighbor is hungry, the Prophet ﷺ said that this is not a believer. ليس المؤمن الذي يشبع وجاره إلى جنبه جائع. It was also about the people in general, particularly the weak among the people, the weak sectors of the society, the weak groups of the society. Who would be weak in the society? The orphans, the servants, people of lower socioeconomic classes, people who don't have status, prestige, position in the society. Those are the weak in every society, and it varies from one society to another. People who do not have particular allegiance to a powerful tribe, all of those are the weak people of the society. And the Prophet ﷺ, told us in a hadith, and this is about the ummah collectively, about the community collectively. He told us in a hadith reported by Tabarani from Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu anhu, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُقَدِّسُ أُمَّةً لَا يُعْطُونَ الضَّعِيفَ مِنْهُمْ حَقَّهُ, أو different variations of this hadith, but this is a very powerful statement. Allah will never honor a nation, Allah will never give glory or honor a nation that does not retrieve the rights of the poor, of the weak for him, or that does not give the weak his due rights, that does not give the weak his due rights. In fact, Al-Bayhaqi reported from Burayda radiallahu anhu a different variation of this very hadith, in which the Prophet marveled at the people who think otherwise, who think that Allah may honor a nation that does not give the weak their due rights. He said, كيف يقدس الله أمة لا يعطون الضعيف حقه غير متعتع. How could Allah honor a nation or give glory to a nation when the weak among them cannot claim his rights or cannot retrieve his rights? For the orphan, the Prophet ﷺ told us, as al-Bukhari reported from Sahal ibn Sa'ad radiallahu anhu, أَنَا وَكَافِلُ الْيَتِيمِ كَهَاتَيْنِ فِي الْجَنَّةِ. I and the one who takes care of the orphan will be like this in paradise, will be like this in paradise. The Prophet ﷺ tells us in a hadith, also, that is the hadith of Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, reported by al-Bukhari, ثلاثة يؤتون أجرهم مرتين, and he made 3 people will be given the reward twice. One of those 3 people is a person who had a female slave, and he taught her and he instructed her in culture and arts, and he emancipated her and he married her. So the Prophet ﷺ said that he will be given his reward twice. And yes, that was in the past, and we're done with this, and Islam put together a very effective way of ridding the communities from this ailment that human communities suffered from for long. But and it is a marvelous system that Islam put together to rid the communities from this ailment. But even before the community got rid of this ailment completely, the teachings of the Prophet ﷺ concerning that sector of the community who is the weakest sector of the community were also most beautiful. Then we have the question, and then we could keep on talking about the mercy that the Prophet ﷺ taught us. But this was not limited. Allah said, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ, to the worlds. This was not limited to human beings. Was not limited to human beings. It was even about the animals. So the Prophet ﷺ walked into a stable of camels, and he saw a particular camel, and the camel came to the Prophet ﷺ, stood by the Prophet ﷺ, and confided something into the Prophet ﷺ. And then the Prophet ﷺ walked away, and he said, "Who's the owner of that camel? Who is the owner of that camel?" And someone from Al-Ansar, a boy from Al-Ansar, or like a young man from Al-Ansar, said, "I am the owner of the camel, O Messenger of Allah." And then the Prophet ﷺ said to him, "أَفَلَا تَتَّقِ اللَّهَ فِي هَذِهِ الْبَهِيمَةِ فَإِنَّهُ شَكَى لِي أَنَّكَ تُجِيعُهُ وَتُدْئِبُهُ." And this hadith was authentically reported by Abu Dawood, rahimahullah. So, أَفَلَا تَتَّقِ اللَّهَ, don't you fear Allah concerning this beast? It complained to me, the camel complained to me, and certainly Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is capable over all things. So could the camel talk to the Prophet? Absolutely. Sulaiman was able to hear the ants and was able to, speak to the birds and understand the language of the birds. So it is very, very possible that the Prophet, who is the best of mankind and certainly much greater than Sulaiman, we don't say this to boast, we say this to acknowledge a fact. The Prophet ﷺ was certainly capable of, by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to understand the camel or the complaint of the camel. It complained to me that you keep it hungry and that you overburden it. تُدْئِبُهُ يعني تُتْعِبُهُ, and that you overburden it. Allah have a hadith, the Prophet ﷺ, in which the Prophet ﷺ showed us how to treat animals, how to treat birds. He saw a bird that is lamenting over the loss of her chicks in the nest, and then he said, "Man faja'a hadhihi biwaladiha," and in some reports, "Mal'oonun man faja'a hadhihi biwaladiha." May he be cursed who caused her to grieve over her chicks. The bird, the little bird, may he be cursed who caused the little bird to grieve over her chicks because someone stole them, someone took them away. It did not even stop at the animals, and there are so many reports about how, the mercy of the Prophet ﷺ towards animals and the instructions of the Prophet ﷺ concerning animals. But even when it comes to al-jamadat, inanimate objects, not living things, just objects, the Prophet ﷺ showed great mercy to objects, to the point where after the Battle of Uhud, when he feared that the Sahaba radwanullahi alayhim may have hard feelings towards the mountain of Uhud. They got defeated by the mountain of Uhud or on the mountain of Uhud, and then they may harbor bad feelings for the mountain of Uhud. An object, rocks, the Prophet ﷺ told them, "Uhudun jabal yuhibbuna wa nuhibbu." Uhud is a mountain that loves us and we love it. And when the Prophet ﷺ had his minbar done for him, prior to this, he used to have a trunk of a tree. He used to have a trunk of a tree that he would lean on the trunk of the tree when he was giving his Friday sermon or his sermons in general. And then they made the minbar for him, and then he started to use the minbar, and he left that trunk alone. Or, now that he's using the minbar, he's not going by the trunk of that tree anymore. And then Anas says, فَحَنَّ حَنِينَ النَّاقَةِ. Anas told us that this trunk of the tree wailed or whined or whimpered or cried like a she-camel. And then the Prophet ﷺ came down from his minbar, walked toward the trunk of the tree. This is the report of Ahmad has a little bit of an addition. The hadith is in Tirmidhi, but Ahmad's report has a little addition where he said, the report of Tirmidhi, فَمَسَّهَا فَسَكَنَتْ, but the report of Ahmad, فَاحْتَضَنَهَا فَسَكَنَتْ. So the Prophet hugged the trunk of the tree, and then it calmed down, and then it calmed down. And this was reported to us authentically from the most truthful generation, the Sahaba of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So even with the inanimate objects, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam exhibited mercy and showed us how to be merciful towards the environment, the entire environment. Now the question that people may ask is this mercy only for his ummah, or it is also for the people in general? Did we not say in the beginning, وَمَا أَرْسَلْنَاكَ إِلَّا رَحْمَةً لِلْعَالَمِينَ? It is not even about mankind only, it's about all kinds, all worlds. Certainly it is for the people at large. Yes, he did have particular, intense love for his ummah and concern for his ummah. Absolutely, most certainly. The Prophet ﷺ was concerned for his ummah all the time, to the point Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As tells us that when the Prophet ﷺ would recite إن تعذبهم فإنهم عبادك وإن تغفر لهم فإنك أنت العزيز الحكيم فمن اتبعني فهو مني ومن عصاني فإنك غفور رحيم. Whether the statement of Isa, the first statement, or the statement of Ibrahim, إن تعذبهم, if you torment them, they are your servants, and if you forgive them, you are the Almighty, the All-Wise. Or when Ibrahim said, فمن تبعني فهو مني ومن عصاني فإنك أنت الغفور الرحيم. Whoever follows me, then he is from me, and whoever disobeys me, you are the merciful, the oft forgiving. Then when the Prophet ﷺ remembered that he will also be a witness against his own ummah, he cried, and he raised his hands up and he said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, ummati, ummati. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent Jibreel to him, and he said to him, ma yubkika ya Muhammad? Ask Muhammad what is causing him to cry. Ma yubkika ya Muhammad? And then the Prophet ﷺ told them, I have concern about my ummah. And then Allah told Jibreel, اذهب إلى محمد فقل له إن الله سيرضيك في أمتك ولا يسوءك فيها. Allah will please you concerning your ummah and will not cause you distress about your ummah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not cause you grief concerning your ummah. Allah will please you concerning your ummah. He did the same thing. He would cry every time he would remember that there would come generations of his ummah after him who have not seen him, and then they would encounter challenges in their faith and challenges through their lives, and he would not be there to comfort them as he did with the Sahaba Ridwanullahi alayhim, and to give them strength and to empower them as he did with the Sahaba Ridwanullahi alayhim. When the verse is recited, فَكَيْفَ إِذَا جِئْنَا مِنْ كُلِّ أُمَّةٍ بِشَهِيدٍ وَجِئْنَا بِكَ عَلَى هَؤُلَاءِ شَهِيدًا in Surah An-Nisa. How about when we bring a witness against every nation and we bring you as a witness against this nation? He also cried when he thought of his position before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, witnessing against his own ummah. But that was certainly not limited to the Muslims. The Prophet ﷺ, as Abu Dawood reported from Abdullah ibn Amr ibn al-As, for instance, said, ألا من ظلم معاهدا أو انتقصه أو كلفه ما لا يطيق أو أخذ شيئا منه من غير طيب نفس. All of this, فأنا حجيجه يوم القيامة. Whoever wrongs a man under covenant with the Muslims. A man under covenant is a mu'ahid, contracting man, a man under covenant, a peaceful person who is in a covenant with the Muslims. That is the mu'ahid. Whoever wrongs a mu'ahid or dishonors him or overburdens him with work or takes anything away from him without his full pleasure, I shall be his disputant, his opponent, his disputant on the day of judgment. So many hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ, man qatala mu'ahidan, when the Prophet ﷺ talked about, the killing of the mu'ahid, the person under covenant, the Prophet ﷺ said the punishment for this, he said, lam yarih ra'ihat al-jannah, he will not smell the odor or the fragrance of paradise, which could be found from a distance of the 40 the march covered in 40 days, or a 40-day march. So, and many such a hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ told us about the evil of being unjust or being unfair to the mu'ahideen. Man adha dhimmiyan faqad adhani wa man adhani faqad adha Allah. It has been reported with a questionable authenticity by Tabarani, Khatib, Man adha dhimmiyan fana khasimuhu, with questionable authenticity as well, but they have a lot of corroborative reports that corroborate the meaning and support it. Whoever hurts a peaceful, under covenant, a non-Muslim that is under covenant, hurts me personally, and whoever hurts me hurts Allah, and so on and so forth. But this was about the non-Muslims who are under covenant, because whenever we talk about non-Muslims, we lump them all together as if they are one thing. It's different, many different shades, many different layers. So this is about the people who are under covenant, even with the enemies that were fighting the Prophet ﷺ, he still had mercy for them. Allah taught us this, وَيُطْعِمُونَ الطَّعَامَ عَلَى حُبِّهِ مِسْكِينًا وَيَتِيمًا وَأَسِيرًا, and they give food to the captive, and the misfortunate, to the poor, the captive, miskinan, yatiman, asira, to the poor, the orphan, and the captive. The captive cannot be a Muslim, right? The captive is a non-Muslim, and they give food despite their need, despite their desire for it, to those. And the Prophet ﷺ told us, Fukkul Ani, as Bukhari and Muslim reported from Abi Musa al-Ash'ari, free the captives. And those captives are the enemies that were just fighting against us yesterday. And many other such examples of the mercy that was shown to the non-Muslims. With the different layers, different shades of non-Muslims, those who are peaceful, those who are friendly. Those who are friendly, they should never outdo us in kindness. They should never outdo us in gentleness. They should never outdo us in generosity. أَن تَبَرُّوهُمْ وَتُقْسِطُوا إِلَيْهِمْ, that you show them birr and qist. And birr is a layer that is much higher than qist, which is justice. Birr is kindness, generosity, liberality, and so on and so forth. Now, we will probably not be able to address the contradictions or the things that may seem to be contradictory to this. Jihad, severity of punishment, things of that nature. But what I want you to be sure and confident of is that the overarching principle in all of this is mercy. So the Prophet exhibited mercy and taught mercy in every case, in every situation, with everybody, unless that mercy means injustice to somebody else. Because do all nations of this world have armies or not? Historically, all nations, were involved at some point in their history in some fighting or not. There is justifiable and unjustifiable, warranted and unwarranted. But if you allow the evil to prevail, is this merciful? If you allow people to deceive the Muslims, if you allow, for instance, if you allow a certain group of people to allow the Confederates to come from their side and attack the Muslims after we had agreed that we will protect the Medina and we will have the trench sort of encompass the Medina from all sides except this side, because this is your side that you need to protect. And then when that particular group agrees with the Confederates that came to wipe out the Muslims, agrees with them to come from their side, to tell them that we'll allow you to come from our side so that you can come into the Medina and wipe out the Muslims, so that that will be a massive massacre of the Muslims. Then if the Prophet ﷺ forgave those people afterwards, doesn't this embolden other people to repeat the same thing to the Muslims and to do the same thing over and over? In this case, it will defeat the ultimate objective of mercy for all. Because when you exude mercy towards this particular person, when you exude mercy towards a murderer, a rapist, for instance, when you exhibit mercy towards a rapist, that will encourage others to repeat the same offense. Is it merciful? No, it is not, because mercy for the individual here is at the expense of the general mercy for the group, for the generality or for the community at large, for the generality of mankind. These are the only times where the Prophet ﷺ showed firmness, when mercy was counterproductive to the general, when mercy in that particular scenario or incident was counterproductive to the general objective of mercy for all, with which he was sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the final messenger to humanity. قولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك.